the great Little Richard. We're going to talk about five of the big rockers between 1957 and 1959 who were forced out of the business through a variety of reasons. 1955, rock explodes with Bill Haley and the Comets. 1956, Elvis has million sellers on RCA Records, sells 10 million records in 1956. So rock is here. It is exploding. But by 1957, the rockers are fading away. If you notice the beginning of that song by Little Richard, that drum break was later used by Led Zeppelin. Here we have Little Richard. 1957, Little Richard was on top of the world. Here's Little Richard with the Beatles. 1957, he's doing a tour of Australia. Two different stories about why he quit the business. The first story is that he was in an airplane that came close to crashing, and he prayed to God and said that he would quit his devil ways and join the ministry if God got him down okay. The second story is he saw the Russian communications satellite, or heard about the Russian communications satellite Sputnik, and saw it as a message from God for him to quit his evil ways and to serve the Lord. Next, we have Elvis Presley. Of course, you know the story. He joined the Army in 1958. Started having those huge hits on RCA Records, also started making movies. He had made Love Me Tender, King Creole, and Jailhouse Rock before he joined the Army, but he was drafted into the Army. He joined the Army in March of 1924 of 1958. Here's a very famous shot of Elvis getting his famous hair chopped off. 1958, Elvis joins the Army. All right, probably our most famous story, Jerry Lee Lewis. Again, 1958. Again, Jerry was climbing the charts. He'd had a whole lot of shaking going on and also Great Balls of Fire, two huge hits. Had another couple of hits that were just starting to come up the charts, but he decided to get married for the third time. Was only 21 years old, married for the third time. But this time he decided to marry his 13-year-old second cousin Myra. Here's a shot of Jerry and his 13-year-old cousin Myra. Jerry goes on tour to England. The English press has a field day with Jerry, tears him apart, just gives him no mercy, and Jerry is basically drummed out of the business after only two hits. Could have been the king of rock and roll. Probably didn't have the looks for it, though. 1958, Jerry Lee Lewis. 1959, the tragic airplane accident that claimed the lives of Buddy Holly, J.P. Richardson, the Big Bopper, and also Ritchie Valens. Ritchie Valens had just had a smash hit with La Bamba. J.P. Richardson, the Big Bopper, had a novelty hit with Hello, Baby. What was the name of that? Chantilly Lace. They all three died in the plane crash. Interestingly enough, Waylon Jennings, who lived in Phoenix, I believe until he died, was the bass player for Buddy Holly at that time. He no longer was using the Crickets. Waylon Jennings was not on the airplane that crashed. Here is a little bit of Buddy Holly's very last hit. I'm not sure when this was released. It might have been released after he died. We'll have to look into that. But Buddy's last big hit, It Doesn't Matter Anymore.
There you go, baby, here am I. Oh, well, you left me here so I could sit and cry. Well, golly gee, what have you done to me? Oh, well, I guess it doesn't matter anymore.
Buddy's last hit, he was really getting much more into a smooth songwriting style by then. And finally we come to, there's Buddy with his famous Stratocaster. Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry had picked up a prostitute, hat check girl, a 14-year-old girl, had picked her up and brought her along with him on his tour through Arizona and a few other southern states. And he was arrested for this in 1959, transporting a minor across state lines for immoral purposes, and eventually spent a couple of years in jail. Chuck Berry got arrested and eventually thrown in jail. Let's hear Chuck Berry's hit as we finish out our review of the 50s rockers, and rock is dead. Here's Chuck Berry with Nadine.
Yes, I got on a city bus and found a vacant seat. I thought I saw my future bride walking up the street. I shouted to the driver, hey conductor, you must slow down. I think I see her, please let me